I want to welcome everybody to the Daily Cheat Sheet. I want to remind everybody, when you go to listen to our episode, just hit automatic download. Give us that 5-star review. It's extremely helpful. You could do it on Apple. You could do it on Spotify. You could do it, I think, on Podbeam or wherever you get your downloads. You could also go to our Rumble channel and our YouTube channel and just hit subscribe. That way, when the new episode comes out, sometimes, listen, I have the best looking co-hosts there are around, and that's the dude.
Thank you.
And the Golan,
Yeah,
and I
there's
would
the
rather
Golan.
sometimes rather watch them. So there you go. It's very helpful for us. I just want to start with something humorous, okay? Because I was talking about sandwiches with somebody before, and I went on to Uber Eats, and I was looking at and there's a new sandwich shop in my neighborhood, Golan, called a bagel store called the Yeasty Boys. And I was thinking to myself, that might be the dumbest Jew in America who ever built this. I'm guessing he might be. Either that or he loves the Beastie Boys. One of the most grotesque names for an eatery there has ever been.
You and I are going to agree to disagree on this. I have been a fan of the Yeasty Boys for quite some time, and actually amazing bagels. And what a clever little punny name. Well done, guys. Using your yeast, getting those bagels going. I guess anyone who thinks otherwise has probably got something else on the brain, but that's on them, I would say.
No. Men had the same exact thought, and none of us have ever heard.
I'm not giving either of you a pass.
Yeah,
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. And let me tell you something. If those bagels are good, I'd go with that name. You know, me and my wife, we were taking a little shortcut through a strip mall, and all of a sudden we noticed a new bagel shop. And anytime there's a bagel shop, we got to try it. Went in there. It was fantastic.
By the way, I don't want to hurt future sponsors, so I'll agree with you
Let me
guys.
tell you, the Yeasty Boys is not sponsoring
Yeasty
this
Boys
show,
is the best.
ever.
The Yeasty Boys is partnering with Netflix at the moment, promoting
Are they really?
Nobody Wants This. They partner with Taco Bell. They're huge, man. Yeasty Boys have been around a while. They are gargantuan. You are now, again, the Jewish mafia is coming for you, Judah. That's all I'm saying.
I had no idea. This is the first time I've ever heard of it. Anyways, let's move on. I do have a mend challenge today. I would say we should do it as a video, but I can't do blackface. So I really think we need to do something, a meme with Dave Smith and the Mishmar, you know, that whoever that author that he always cites is. Golan, how do you pronounce his name?
Man, I've stopped. I've lost the ability to retain any information that Dave Smith has said out loud.
I just with that one
it was
book,
making me
I want a
dumber.
meme. I want a meme with Dave Smith and this historian that he constantly cites. Men, please get on that. Okay,
I'm on it.
You're on it?
I can't stand that guy, but sure.
No, I just think it's really funny because it's a joke. It's like, this is who you're citing. I mean, this is what people are doing right now, is they're finding the most abstract historians that have never been credible, and they're finding them and using them as fact. And that's really go on a very dangerous time when that's going on.
Yeah, and anybody who writes a book called The Israel Lobby, I don't care if your name sounds Jewy or not, your book is full of shit. So thanks for playing. Dave Smith using this as one of his backups tells you everything you need to know.
I didn't even know that
He's
was the name
actually
of the
sick
book.
in the head.
Yeah,
the man
that's actually the name of the book.
Yeah,
Dave Smith is sick in the head.
why we
There's
remember
no sense in giving that guy any more airtime.
I'll go with evil.
I mean, I don't know what the problem is. I'm just a comedian. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not writing a book. So like, whatever. I'm just a guy on the.
I want to get to this right away because I think there's some fascinating stories, and I don't know why they're not being reported more. But you had this wacko church bomber, right? This evil guy that had what did he say? He had 200 bombs on him.
200 homemade bombs in his tent. And he was camping out on the steps of the church
in Washington, D.C. before they give the prayer, right, for the Supreme Court. And
do the justices show up for that?
Yeah.
They do sometimes. This particular time they didn't because they had security concerns, and I can't imagine why. But yeah, usually at least some of them are there.
Can we now just declare that the Democratic Party is, someone said this the other day, is a terrorist organization, but all of the terrorists, domestic terrorists, are coming from the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, and that's why President Trump had that roundtable today in Washington discussing Antifa and other groups across America go on, and you had a bunch of people. There are quite a few groups. Obviously, there's tons of groups, and this has to be dealt with, and hopefully they deal with this extremely swiftly. And this is one of those things, it's a layup. go on. This isn't like taking a full court shot. This is like a layup going after who's funding these organizations. It should not be that hard to figure out.
Absolutely. And, I know that of course, there are lone wolves out there. There are people who are acting on their own. But I have now witnessed something that you can't unsee. When you're looking at what happens on college campuses, when you're looking at what happens in so-called Antifa riots, when you're looking at what happened during the Black Lives Matter riots, all of that stuff, plus, of course, every quote unquote pro-Palestinian, we know that means pro-terrorist riot that happens, they all have the same signs, the same banners, the same logos, the same branding, the same shirts, the same masks, the same tents. At a certain point, it's not a coincidence that everybody is exactly in the same gear, carrying all of the same stuff. Somebody is financing it. Somebody is manufacturing this stuff. Somebody's handing out the same bricks that are going through the same windows. So yes, finding the people that are financing this is not only something that should be easy to do, it also is necessary to do,
Have
because
you ever
those are the
seen
people that are fueling terrorism in America.
Have you ever seen Conspiracy Theory? That movie with Mel Gibson and Julia
Julia
Roberts?
Roberts, of course.
So, like every time Catcher in the Rye was bought, it would get flagged. Man, if you're not like in a major like camping city and there are 100 tents bought at once from Amazon or a store, this should automatically be like a flag that gets sent up. I mean, like if you're buying 500 tents and 500 Mexican flags or Palestinian flags or flags or whatever, there should automatically be your flag.
It's not just that. We're talking about church bombings. We're talking about synagogues getting shot up. We're talking about people being assaulted on the streets and people being shot and executed on the streets. So if you don't think that Antifa is a terrorist organization, or like that,
Well, they were labeled that now.
What was that fat short senator? Is he from New York?
He's a congressman.
Congressman who claimed that Antifa doesn't exist. Remember that? They all came, but doesn't exist. Well, or they go, well, what's wrong with anti-fascists? You may as well call yourself anti-Nazis and then go do Nazi stuff.
Right.
Brilliant
And
branding.
people are going to be like, oh, but they're the anti-Nazis. So these people.
Yeah, but we already know that the people that right now, and I'm not saying every terrorist in the history of time, so you don't have to call me out on that. I'm saying right now, we have a left terror problem.
Oh, yeah.
And the left are real good at labeling things the opposite of what they are. And so when you tell me I'm anti-fascist, and then you are destroying storefronts, you are shooting people, you're blowing up property, you're causing property damage, you're shutting down cities, you're lighting things on fire, you're attacking ICE, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not anti-fascism, you idiots. And of course, you know that, and that's why you label it that, because that way, just like Trump, who is brilliant at branding when he says, now you got to call it the big, beautiful bill. Now you got to say Trump RX. Every time we want to talk about these Nazis, we have to say Antifa. It's time we start labeling them what they really are, straight up terrorists, and that's that.
It's interesting, though, that what you both just brought up, because I was thinking other than Gabby Gifford and somebody, and I'm not exactly sure about, his name was Jared Lee Loughner. I'm not exactly sure what his political leanings were, but I can't think of, you look at the softball game, right, with Steve Scalise getting shot, done by the left. You look at
it's all done by the left.
No,
almost all of it.
Meant, I know, but it's important. It's not just not. Don't say all. It's important when you could actually look at presidents being shot or shot at or killed. It's being done for the most part by people that are leftists. That's just a fact as you look out through the lens of 40 to 50 years go on of history. So, when you have actual facts and you look at today, they arrested this, the person that started the Palisades fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 29-year-old leftist from Florida,
Mm-hmm.
who absolute leftist, believes in a dystopian future. Dystopian like posters. And this is what he's doing. So like, let's call the cases. We have to be specific. People forget so easily because this is happening so much.
Well, by the way, it's we can point to him. We can point to any number of things, but there's some stuff that's already starting to come out. I don't know. Have you guys listened to anything about Neville Roy Singham? We've talked about him before on the show.
Yes, I actually sent you the WhatsApp message.
Do you know that right now
in our private?
In our private WhatsApp, be careful. Those things seem to be leaking lately. Candace isn't as in her, is she? She's
Not
okay.
Not that I know of.
Right now, he is under investigation as a possible agent of the CCP, of the Chinese Communist Party. And he's not some fringe donor. He's a U.S. billionaire living in Shanghai. He loves socialism. He says it out loud. This isn't me labeling him as such. He loves Maoism. He loves socialism. And he pays for tons of nonprofits, quote
Say his
unquote.
name again.
Neville Roy Singham.
And he sold his company in 2017 for $795 million. It's important to note that he says that he has absolutely nothing to do with that company. But when you look at the records in China, you know differently that he's actually working for said company that he claims he sold.
That's right. And also, and the way it works is in China, every company is also co-owned by the Chinese government. But his money, they've been able to at least show at least the initial stages of his money flowing through what's called dark money nonprofits, which are basically shell organizations with a very little footprint. Things called like the United Community Fund, Justice and Education Fund. Notice they all have these very lovely, benevolent names. We're changing the world and we're anti-fascist, when really all of these things are financing a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. And they have been able to identify now tens of millions of dollars that is funneled through places like the People's Forum, another one that sounds like it should be. It's for people. That's a place that's ready to destroy Western civilization, and on and on. So this is the first domino to fall.
Like
Many more are coming.
Jews for Peace. Like Jews for Peace. If you have an organization called Jews for Peace, it's definitely not an organization that wants peace, okay? Because you
That's
should never
right.
have to say Jews for Peace.
And you probably have no Jews in it. Just like Jewish Voice for Peace.
Of course.
Jewish Voice
all
for
of those
Peace.
Organizations.
No Jews, no, not our voice, and no peace.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Man, I think, and I didn't mean to cut you off before, but I think it's really important to note, especially you're very good at doing that type of stuff. It's so important when you name the actual things, because so much has happened as far as leftist violence goes that we forget it. It's like when you bring up the 8, when you cite the 8 past things. Now we could add 9. Now we could add 10 to the list with this person that try to light a fuse on himself in Washington, to this person that lit the Palisades on fire, causing billions of dollars in damage. He's a leftist. Okay, he didn't get this from nowhere, man.
Yeah, it's what we've seen time and time again is the violence is mostly coming from the left. But the difference is that the politicians on the right are not inciting violence. I haven't heard any politician on the right inciting violence. I have clip after clip, supercuts of every single top Democratic leader in the country inciting violence. I have one up on my X account right now, where it shows Maxine Waters and all these other leaders talking about you got to get out in the streets and get in their face, and we need
let them eat dinner and
step up the war and all that stuff, all this rhetoric. Punch them in the face is one they love to say. And then on the other side of the screen, it just shows you these lefty, I don't even want to call them Antifa. We should just call them Tifa to domestic terrorists. They're not anti-fascists. They are fascists. So the fascist domestic terrorists are on the other side of the screen, blowing up police cars and just causing chaos and damage all over the place. That's what they want. They want to have that chaos that they control, which is very dangerous because it runs away from them. As we see it, over and over again. Once you start it, you can't stop it.
And by the way, a good example of this is, not to go back once again to the same guy, this Neville Roy Singham guy, but one of the organizations that he financed actually paid Elias Rodriguez. Remember Elias Rodriguez?
Yeah, the shooter.
Yeah, the shooter in D.C. who killed the 2 Israeli diplomats. That's directly from his pocketbook. The riots in Los Angeles right now, the ICE riots, directly from his pocketbook. These things that they're now showing the causality between. So these things, even if they're looking to remake the politics or whatever, it's not that. They're looking for chaos. They're looking to destroy the West.
Ben brought up something very interesting without realizing, which is something he often does. Go on. This is something we've discussed, and I kid around. By the way, there is. I often think this. I'm blessed to have to do this with both of you, because you two are rock stars. You two are far more eloquent than I could ever be when you speak, and your knowledge is second to none. With that being said, go on. Men brought up this isn't a right. You never hear right wing politicians talking about this, and that's because, for the most, not right-wing Republicans, because for the most part, this isn't in Republican thinking. Republicans don't have this in their thinking. So when you look at, and we've discussed this, so Orwell is the perfect person, right? Everybody quotes and cites Orwell, right? Because of 1984. Well, he was a Democrat socialist. when you look at every dystopian movie. I would venture to say almost every single one of them was written by a lefty. We know John Carpenter was one of a massive lefty, and the list goes on. And we don't think like this. It's a really differing. We can't even write like that, Golan, because you would have to get into that dystopian brain that doesn't exist in a capitalist head or a conservative mind. It just doesn't really translate very well for us, Golan.
It's really interesting. I've never quite thought of it that way. That those who are writing often are cited as the people who are identifying the thing they're afraid of. Right? That's how it's always framed. So Orwell, for instance, or Aldous Huxley, or Margaret Atwood, or any of these people. The idea of these leftist visions when they go wrong. Right? That's kind of how it's framed. And I think you're not wrong in how you're looking at it. The left assumes that utopia, right? This like progressive utopian systems are the systems that will work best. So when they actually see it through to its final conclusion, there's no way it can't collapse upon itself. The idea of what's the book? Walden, right? If you think about Walden and then you read Walden 2, and the whole thing is basically pointing to this was inevitable because there's no way to have a utopian progressive paradise without authoritarianism, without suddenly everything collapsing upon itself. I think you're right, because the dystopian stories are always about big government. They're always about technocracies. They're always about, government control and all of that eventually collapsing. And finally, the people who can see past it breaking out from under it. It's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
But it's also, when you look at it with the modern day podcasters, right? They're all dystopian, and they're not people that are necessarily, I would call, Republicans. They might be on the right. They may be ultra right wing, if you were to call them something. But Rogan and the Pod Bros, who have very dystopian views of the world, they're not conservatives. They're not of our same mind frame. So, men, when you bring up these cases, it would never even be in your wildest dreams to think about putting the Palisades on fire. I mean, that thinking isn't what we're accustomed to. Yet on the left, it has become, we like to think this is new. And my point is, this has been really a storyline of theirs for a long, long time, from socialism to Marxism to all these things.
Look, I will say there are some things where the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Good intentions eventually, when pushed to their limit, become like coercive mechanisms. But there's also pure evil, and pure evil kind of transcends a lot of this stuff. A guy who's lighting the place on fire isn't thinking of good intentions, right? He's thinking of destruction. The problem is that they've been pumped so full of all these people you're talking about, all the social media, all the pod bros and everybody else, the woke right even to a certain extent, and said, in order to rebuild this the way we want it to be, we have to burn it down first. We have to destroy the system first. And so they are going in and doing purely evil things and thinking, this is how I recreate the world in the image that I want it to be.
See,
It's psychotic
I believe
at a certain point.
I think it's a little more sinister than that.
You think so?
I think you have people that got their master's degree in sociology and transgender interpretive dance. They're still living in their mom's basements. They have 75 piercings and tattoos all over the place, and a septum piercing to broadcast that they are as woke as it comes, and they are complete absolute losers. And what they want to do is they want to burn down society so that everybody starts from a fair level playing field.
That's a brilliant point.
But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You have to burn it down.
That's not the Pod Bros. The Pod Bros are not doing that. Pod Bros are all pretty rich. It doesn't matter. Just going with the feel good, like Joe Rogan says.
You are missing something. Dave Smith is a good example of this. He is very wealthy. He is wealthy by Dave Smith, the guy we were just talking about, the moron, right? He's friends with Joe Rogan. That's how he got famous. That's how he made his money. He makes a lot of money now. He gets on stage at TPUSA. He goes to all these places. Ultimately, what he preaches is exactly what you're talking about right now. The fat cats and this and that. He doesn't say, I'm one of the fat cats. He just says the fat cats. And then he says, let's burn it all down so we can all be even. He's progressive. It's about race. It's about, whatever minority thing you can identify yourself with. He's supporting that. So in burning it down, that's what I'm saying. He's supporting this concept of burning it to zero so we can all come out good together.
All right. So there's some guys like him, which he's capitalizing on that. He's profiteering off of that. But then you have like the Obamas. Obama doesn't believe in actually burning it all down. He just bought himself $100 million mansion in Martha's Vineyard on the ocean. Like, if he believed in climate change, if he believed in burn it all down, he wouldn't have done that. He would have invested in Saudi Arabia or some other place where his money would be safe. He's doing it here. Obama's different. Obama's more of a socialist, and he wants to reset to make up. He wants present day discrimination to make up for past discriminations. He buys into the Ibram X. Kendi model, where like Ibram X. Kendi is not trying to burn it all down. He's just saying, let the whiteys pay for everything and blacks should get away with everything. I mean, that's the Ibram X. Kendi. It's different from the septum pierced lunatics that are
It
just
has the
burning
same
down
reaction,
churches.
though. It has the same result.
They all
Is
intersect. They all
right.
intersect
Right,
together
right.
with
That's
the jihadis.
But you are
how do they meet?
forgetting.
What
You
is
are
the
forgetting the
intersection?
most important part of dystopian fiction. You are forgetting that in all of these stories, everybody gets told, burn it all down, start from zero, except there is always one class up above
Of course.
everybody else, right?
I have to.
One
This
That's
is
where
person
where
at
Nancy
the front
Pelosi.
of the
Nancy
train.
Pelosi is worth over $100 million on a $200,000 salary.
Well, think about
She's been
yeah.
insider trading stocks since
and
she's
so
been
was
in
her
Congress.
father.
How many migrants has she invited into her neighborhood or her house? None. Zero. These people are complete hypocrites. So there are some people at the top that are doing it for profit, and then there's other people that are not doing it for profit. These are the pawns, the sheep. They're out there because they are truly miserable. They are truly miserable in the life choices that they've made for themselves, and they've made their bed, they're stuck in it, they're lying in it, and they hate it, and they want everyone else to be miserable with them.
Again, so what's worse? What's worse, the Bernie Sanders or the people, what's worse, the people that are igniting the flame or the person that actually sets the fire? And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
It's the people instigating it. So the Bernie Sanders, the AOCs out there, they're way worse. Of course they're worse.
yeah. So
There's so much
no,
more
no, no,
dishonest.
but
They're weaponizing the sheep who don't know any better. And when the
Exactly.
reset happens,
Exactly.
those people get to take the monopoly. They remove competitors, they remove regulators, they remove all the legacy claims. And those people who are already the cream at the top of the drink, they just get stronger. And half the time they get this messianic complex where they become the heroes, that they're the uniquely qualified ones that are going to save civilization. So everyone else now starts at zero, but it's okay that they're up there because, morally they belong above us because they're the ones who recommended it to begin with. It's not an accident.
Did you
years
see that?
ago, men, do you remember there was that coffee bean on Sunset and Fairfax? I'm sure Golan
Yep.
remembers it. And
course.
Golan, I'll never forget, I see the windows of the coffee beans starting to shake. And I thought I was having an anxiety attack, and I didn't realize that it was an earthquake. And I was sitting with this recovering heroin addict, and this homeless guy starts screaming, "The end is here! The end is here!" And I was like, and I said to my friend, I was like, "What the hell is he?" He's like, "Well, listen, that's every like junkie's dream. It's like for like the end to be here. They think it'll all even out." And I said to my friend, I said, "But they'll still need heroin." And he said, and he said, I didn't say it was a well thought out plan. He said, "But that is the thinking." And I remember that really, it's those little things that really put perspective on that insane sort of thinking.
Yeah. I remember that coffee bean. Was it coffee bean and tea leaf? Right?
It was coffee bean and tea leaf right next to Baja Fresh.
Yeah. It was
And
great.
and
I lived about 30 seconds from there.
you've lived all over.
All over.
And I
Me
want to
too.
move on.
Hold on, we were neighbors and didn't know it.
But I think it's just really important to note that the difference between, I've always said this, the difference between us and them is they want to share the American dream, right? They want part of our American dream. We want the American dream. Okay, they want to take our American dream. I mean, when you look at conservatives, all they want to do is work and try to have a better life. The other side wants to take part of that. That's a very frightening thing to
Well,
run
there's two
on.
basic views. I mean, there's two basic views for this country. One view is this is an amazing experiment that has worked out beyond anyone's imagination, and it's the most successful country in the world, right? We started with some people coming from Britain, and they were just sick of all that stuff, and we did this thing, and we are the world superpower. It's amazing. We've lifted more people out of poverty than anyone else, and it's something that should be fostered, taken care of, and nurtured to grow more so that the next generation could benefit and reap the same rewards. That's one view. America is a something to be cherished and to be fostered. You need to take care of it, right? The other view is America's a big fat piggy, and let me take as much of that pork as I can get, and to hell with everyone else. Let me grab as much as I can. Let me defraud Medicaid as much as I can. Let me, like, all of that stuff. So I think that's what differentiates the Democrats from the Republicans. The Republicans say anyone could be have an American success. Anyone could be pursuing the American dream, and you could become a billionaire if your ideas are good enough that people want to buy your product. You create that product, you could become a billionaire, and that is the American dream. And we hope for that for everyone in America. The Democrats see it the other way. They see it that this is just for a few elites. They're going to show you how it's done. As Nancy Pelosi amasses $100 million on a $200,000 salary, but she's going to tell you how the government is going to tax some and give it to some others and do all these things, dividing up the piggy. So, it's really simple. If you want to get ahead, if you believe that you could get ahead and you could, invent something or work hard and do something, and you want to save everything, you want to retain the fruits of your own labor, then you're a Republican. If you think that you should be working all day long and the government should have a right to come in and snatch 50 or 75% of it and give it to someone else who doesn't work, then you're a Democrat.
Well, I used to live in Bulgaria, and in Bulgaria, speaking of living everywhere.
Where have you not lived, man?
Dude,
Bulgaria.
Man, just wait till I figure out where I'm going to live next, because I'm not staying.
Get the hell out of Spain.
The house next door to me, Golan, the house next door is still open.
Keep saying, man, just keep
man,
keep the lease
before
open.
the show, I was begging him to get out of Spain. And I think this is an important thing to say, is Golan, for the better part of the last, especially since October 7th, Golan got stuck in, you did get stuck in Spain because of COVID while you were filming something, and you decided to stay. And Golan has been harassed in Spain with his children, and that is not a joke. In his neighborhood, Jews have had to take down their mezuzahs, which, for people that are not familiar with, that's what Jews believe protect the house. And Golan has
let's just quick thing here. That little piece of parchment that Jewish people hang on their door to protect the house, inside it talks about a return to Zion. In the prayers that the Jews say every day for the last, 3,500 years, is about returning to Zion. Everything about the religion has to do with the state of Israel, with this Holy Land. So when you have these demented so-called Jews, so-called rabbis out there going, we don't believe in Zionism, you are literally denying your own faith. You're denying your own religion. And the same thing goes for Christians. If you're a Christian, you should be a Christian Zionist, because Jesus came from the Holy Land, and Jesus is going to return, according to the scriptures, to the Holy Land. And if you don't believe in the Holy Land, if you think the Holy Land is Palestine, he ain't ever coming back.
But Golan, to the bigger point, though, brilliantly said, and thank you for that. And really brilliantly said. And Golan, the bigger point I was trying to say, though, before the show to you was, you live in a country without a mezuzah. And I look at a mezuzah sort of as like a moral, is like the thing protecting the land. And when you look at Europe right now, it's a world without a mezuzah. I mean, it's a world without a godly sort of protection. I'm not referring to Judaism. I'm referring to God.
You're right. Look, the government here summarily rejects all of it. I told you guys about how even the local SNL, Saturday Night Live here, their local comedy show, is making fun of the fact that the president is doing the classic thing where you're failing as a politician, so you blame the Jews for everything. He's literally doing this on a regular basis. We had to cancel our outdoor sukkah building because the Catalan police.
What that is.
Sukkah, for Sukkot, it's the holiday, it's the harvest, it's nature. We don't have to get into the entire thing, but basically you build an outdoor hut out of natural materials, palm fronds, etc. And so we, as a community, every year would get together. They block off a street. We build a sukkah. The kids get in. It's really nice. It's a whole family thing. We had to cancel it this year because the Catalan police would not protect the Jews. They didn't say it that way. They said
no, it's frightening, man.
They said
it's also important. It's important.
We just don't have
enough
people to give you personnel and all the rest. So this is something that's consistent now. I complained the other day because they put up all these Palestine murals all over the place, and there's an app where you complain if someone's doing spray painting. And I got a message back from the city saying the artist's just expressing themselves. Like, what the hell's your problem? They're not going to take it down. Okay, that's fine. I bought a bucket of paint. I'm gonna do it, and I've done it 100 times before, and I'll do it again.
I
Right?
love that. But I still
Love it.
get out. I worry about you and your family. I get but it's not the Spain of Spain. Europe is not the Europe of Europe. Listen,
Well, actually, I would say this is pretty consistent with Spain.
right. That's
Every 80
exactly
years, they
right,
screw over
right,
their
right.
Jews. This
Right,
is not new.
they had a period of denial where you were tolerated but not accepted. So I just think it's really important to note what men brought up and what you're bringing up is that we all believe in a higher power, we all believe in a God, we all believe in something greater than ourselves, and that's something also that differentiates between conservatives and the left, that we do believe in a higher power, whatever we choose to call that. And that's just my humble opinion. I don't believe in randomness. I don't believe in the randomness of us knowing each other or how we all met each other. It's too random to not have a God shot in there. I want to move
I
on, though, a
agree.
But
little.
before you do, I just want to point out the holiday that Golan was just talking about commemorates the Jews leaving Egypt, traveling through the desert. And when they did, they were exposed to the elements and they ate in little huts. And therefore, on their way from Egypt to Israel, 3,000 some odd years ago, they ate in huts. And therefore, the Jews today eat in huts. Everything ties back to that place. Everything ties back to that one place. So again, to the woke liberal Jews out there who go, Israel, I'm a Jew, but I'm not a Zionist. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's
Also,
impossible to be a Jew
Judaism,
and not a Zionist.
and we won't have the conversation now because it will take up the entire rest of the time, and it's a long philosophical conversation. But anyone who thinks that Judaism is merely a religion does not understand what Judaism is. My wife converted, and one of the first things she said once she understood the religion, understood the history, she said, biggest problem you guys have is branding, because you said the culture, that's Judaism, the people, that's Judaism, the race, that's Judaism, the religion, that's Judaism. The only thing you got different is Israel. And everything else, nobody understands that these are all different things. So that's what people don't understand. That's why people start to confuse things, because it's just a religion. It's not just a religion. It's a race. That's why we have our own diseases, why we have our own physical features. I wrote a whole paper on this when I was in college. And there's no way around that. Once you understand that, everything else starts to crystallize into view. We won't get into it now, but it's
And what
something
you're
to at least
referring
put
to, by
into
the way,
your
with
mind.
diseases is Tay-Sachs, things like
Tay-Sachs, that's right.
Tay-Sachs. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to move on a little bit. No, listen, I think it's really important what you guys are talking about. I look at the people that follow our show, especially a lot of the people on Truth Social who are amazing Christians, just amazing Christians. This woman named Amy, I don't want to say her last name, but Amy on Truth, and David and everybody. I hate leaving out names that when we post things that are sort of on the provocative side, always come to our defense. And I absolutely love it. And, before I forget, it's really important to note right now that what do they call it? The manosphere of the podcast movement is, really truly abandoning Trump. They're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't what I signed up for, and you have this Zach Bryan, right? This country singer who's in a lot of hot water, country singer singing about being anti-ICE go on, and he's like, well, you didn't hear the whole song, I go against everybody during the song, and it's like, no, dude, you screwed up, man. You're a country singer. This isn't what people expect from country.
Yeah. And look, fine, you want to do a different thing? Okay, but understand that you are telling your audience who are not, forget whether they're expecting or not. They have come to know you as a certain thing, and now you're singing about ICE coming to bust down your door and all this stuff. You're alienating your audience. You're going to pay for it, but your pocketbook. And that's just, you make that choice. If you decide that's okay with you because you have a certain thing you want to shout about, God bless. I got to interrupt for one moment because I just saw an update, a report. CNN is reporting right now, take that for whatever that's worth, that President Trump has just passed a note, and the note said, this is according to CNN, it's a quote, deal is very close. You need to approve a Truth Social post so you can announce it first, unquote.
And that's the reporting coming from Israel too, and it's the first phase. So
First phase means the hostages are
yeah,
out.
and I really
Yeah,
want to
and
bring this up.
considering that we have not had a second phase with any of the Palestinians, any of the Hamasniks, first phase, the hostages coming out, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and I really want to bring something up that's extremely important because it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I hate people knocking President Trump. You could for certain, especially for certain things. I don't think there's been a president. I can't think of a president that's maybe since Nixon that's more humane, that's more caring, and that has more moral clarity than any other world leader. And I want to say maybe than any other person. Golan, he's a person that cares about people. He has a record of caring about people, of the underprivileged, of everybody. And when he came in, it was all about the hostages. And that's what separates him from every other world leader and everybody on the left and people on the woke right. He's never put the onus on Israel. He's always said, get the hostages. The hostages are the most important thing. And it's like when you read everybody, and I said about the Coleman Hughes and the Dave Smith interview, not once really was hostages mentioned. And President Trump has always humanized this situation. And that's why there's a chance that this deal could go through, because he bucked everybody and said, no, it's about the hostages. It's not about a two-state solution. It's not about this. It's not about that. It's getting about the living hostages out. And I have to thank him from the bottom of my heart for that, because the guts it takes, the political capital that he has used to make sure those hostages get out, no other American president has done that.
This
Every
is, well,
Christian president.
Nixon is the closest, and Nixon bucked his own State Department to say, I am going to save the Jewish state. And, as you pointed out, I think you even said it on the show. I know you told me personally, you talked about how he wouldn't get off the phone until he heard Wheels Up because he didn't even trust that they would follow his orders then.
Yeah.
And bottom line with Trump, you know what? I don't mind if they go after Trump. Do your thing, do your worst, pick apart his tweets, make fun of his hair, go after his ego, whatever you want. One thing you can't fake, it's our favorite phrase, Judah. One thing you can't fake is moral clarity. Trump, nobody claimed he was perfect. Even he doesn't think he's perfect. And no one with a pulse or a spine ever has been, ever. So that's not my benchmark. He got to Washington and he basically said, I've got decency and I'm going to make things matter where they count, which means that whether it's innocent lives, which is why he sends people in to stop crime-ridden cities, whether it's about the hostages, whether it's about Black Americans, increasing how much money they're making, whether it's the lowest Black unemployment on record and criminal justice reform, all the stuff that he's done is all stuff that actually is helping people. And there is plenty to make fun of. He pokes fun at himself. I watched every episode of The Apprentice, and what he did on a regular basis was laugh at himself. Make fun of him. Do your worst. But recognize at the very least that while you put him in these little boxes, he is doing things to help people all the time.
At a scale I don't think we've ever witnessed. And this is why the Christians really backed him up, especially in 2016, especially in 2020, especially in 2024, is because every promise that every so-called Christian president made, they never went to the march, for the March for the Living,
That's right.
for the pro-life marches. President Trump was the only president that went to that. He was the biggest advocate for Christians in our country. I mean, think about it. Remember when he signed the HB, the Black College thing, and he said, "Here, just here's the check. You don't need
Here's your blank check." Yeah.
You need to come back and beg a president every 2 years. He's got clarity, and that's the only reason, man.
That was actually a mistake. Writing that blank check to the HBCUs is a big mistake.
That's for a different time. But my point,
but the point is that he was trying to do something to help people. Again, he's not perfect. He's going to make wrong choices. There are things that he's done, even in regards to what's going on with Gaza, that I go, I wouldn't have done it that way. And we've seen some things that he's backtracked on. But I'll tell you one thing that he's really good at, and again, I'm not trying to blow smoke here. I'm just watching what's going on. I'm not someone who proselytizes about this guy. He makes mistakes and then he course corrects, whereas other politicians, especially presidents, are so afraid of showing that they have any chink in the armor, any weakness, that they will double down half the time and continue driving into the wrong direction. And Charlie Kirk said something that one of the things I absolutely love: speed only helps if you're driving in the right direction.
Great.
It's brilliant.
It's a fantastic line. So, man, and I go to you and I say, I'm looking at this thing and it looks like they're ready to sign it. Whoever knows, Israel's willing to give up one of some horrific terrorists in this trade. But you look at the rest of the world and what they're saying and all this stuff, And Trump, the reason this is working, and the only reason, was because the hostages were always on his mind. That is a beautiful thing. Take everything else out of the equation, men. Life always mattered to him.
No, I agree. And what I said was, and this is what I thought Trump's playbook was, first get the hostages out. And then if they renege on some of the other stuff, who cares? You could always go back in there and kill them. But get those hostages out. So phase one is getting out the hostages, right? Immediate ceasefire, hostage and prisoner exchange. All Israeli hostages, both living and deceased, would be released within 72 hours by Israel, publicly accepting the agreement. In exchange, Israel would then release Palestinian prisoners, including 250 with life sentences, meaning they've murdered somebody, an Israeli
Not just murdered somebody, just so you know, one of the people they're releasing, just so people understand this, is a 66-year-old guy who, during the Second Intifada, is responsible for at least 6 people dying. 6 Jews, 6 Israelis. It could have been 6 Israeli Arabs. It could have been Christians. Whatever it is, they are releasing somebody that has murdered 6 people. Just so people have an understanding.
It's definitely not a one-for-one. I mean, and the Israelis are releasing actual murderers to get back civilians, mothers, kids, daughters, sons, all of that stuff that were at a music festival. So yeah, no, it's not great, but get them out. Once you have your hostages back, Hamas loses all leverage. And I believe the Qataris, the Turks, the Turkish people all know that Trump means business with the hostages. It's just get them out. And there's nothing that they could possibly say with all their propaganda. I mean, Erdogan, the president of Turkey, came out today and said what Israel's doing in Gaza is worse than what Hitler did in the Holocaust. I mean, how this guy is a NATO member is beyond me. I don't know how you move forward with a guy like that. Trump apparently likes the guy. How? How are you going to get past that stuff?
Trump says he likes it. Wait, it's really important. Trump says whatever he needs to say on the world stage in order to let all of these drug dealing, murdering, terror lovers feel like they've got an ally. That's just smart business.
It was like,
the number
listen,
of times I've seen the left wing media tell me, "Oh, he cozied up," and then they name some dictator. He said he liked him. What are you supposed to say? Like Biden used to do? I hate that guy. I looked into his eyes and I saw a murderer.
No, it's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that
now I'm going to go negotiate with him.
First of all, I believe America has a lot of leverage over Turkey. Turkey's trying to get back into the F-35 program. They spent billions of dollars on the S-400 missile system from Russia, which got them kicked out of, or 300 or 400 missile system, got them kicked out of the F-35 program. They could be kicked out of NATO. I mean, Trump should be using some leverage against them. He's not. I mean, when I said, look at Al Jazeera, if you want to see if Qatar really changed their ways, I'll say the same thing. If you want to see if Turkey really changed their ways, let's see what Recep Erdogan or whatever the hell his name is. Let's see what he says. And what he says is today he came out or yesterday he came out and said what Israel's doing is worse than the Holocaust. So no, he hasn't changed at all.
No.
But he's not trying to change.
And I'm going to tell you why he's not.
But he's trying to get back into the F-35 program. If there was anything that Trump could do, he could say, hey, stop supporting terrorists. Stop demonizing Israel and stop supporting terrorists. That would be like first thing on my list. Hey, you might want to stop inciting violence against our ally, against our troops, against us, the West. You might want to do that before we even discuss letting you back into our defense pact and our.
But again, I will go back
program.
to this. Erdogan, sadly, is an important part of this deal of getting the hostages out, which is numero uno for Trump right now. So he's placating.
And how's he doing that? We're applying pressure on Erdogan to apply pressure to Hamas, right?
In theory, Turkey and Qatar, 2 terrorist states, are supposed to help us out on this Hamas deal.
Yeah.
Yes. And yes.
So
that's exactly.
But we can apply pressure to get the hostages out, but we can't apply pressure to get them to shut the hell up and stop.
One thing at a time. And I just want to say this, you look at whether it's China and you look at Turkey, and especially Turkey financially, Erdogan has a shelf life. They keep on saying the same thing about Xi Jinping with having a shelf life.
Well, he's super old. His economy is in shambles. I mean, but if we're talking about a reset, which is what Trump's doing, he's not just trying to end this war. He's not just trying to get the hostages back. He's trying to bring peace to the Middle East. And if you're doing that, because that is his goal, that is what he's trying to end 3,000 year. It's not even 3,000. It's a 100-year conflict. The Israelis have been there for 3,000 years. Palestinians showed up about 100 years ago. They self-identified in 1964. I think it was June of 1964 was when the Russians invented this people called the Palestinians and stole the keffiyeh from Iraq. And the keffiyeh has fishnets on it. That's for the Euphrates and whatever rivers. It's the two rivers right there. And it has two rivers. The thick black lines on the sides of the keffiyeh is for the two rivers, and you fish in between. Anyway, it's completely made up. But if he is trying to do a reset in the Middle East and trying to bring peace, you might want to talk to that guy who's comparing the Israelis to Hitler.
Listen, we don't know what's being
Sure,
said.
except this is the same guy. Okay, yeah, but fine, men. But Judah said it correctly. One step at a time. Right now, as you said, we got to get the hostages. Once we
By
get
the
the
way, we're
hostages
going
out,
on your thing.
then we
You're the
can deal
one
with
that's
whatever
convinced.
the hell we want to do.
Yeah, man, you're the one that's convinced us to come around on this
So what
topic.
I'm saying there,
But don't do
saying there, when it comes to the hostage release thing, Trump put hostages first before any other of the motions that need to go through, because first and foremost, it's most important, get those hostages out. Now, when we're talking about Turkey and Turkey assisting with this thing, you might want to address all the issues with Turkey. You might want to address all the issues with Qatar. And
But
that's why I said,
I'm
look at
genuinely
Al
asking. I
Jazeera.
don't understand something. I genuinely don't understand what you're saying right now. We know that right now we're trying to get them to do this one thing. So they're going to continue. They've never called Hamas a terrorist group, Turkey. They call them liberation fighters. They call them Mujahideen, all this stuff. They literally have a command post for Hamas in Istanbul. Like we know that they're supporters of Hamas. We don't have to pretend or guess. Why would we now try to ask them to do additional things or tell them to be careful and potentially jeopardize whatever sliver that Trump is using over them? And we don't know what it is.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
Well,
And maybe
let
that's
that
it. Maybe he
come
doesn't
later.
have enough leverage.
Let me reset this for a second. We love you. You've actually had a deep impact on our thinking on certain things. So it's funny that we're bringing this up, and now you're sort of contradicting.
I'm not. I'm saying when it comes to the
I know
Hamas
it's really
deal,
bothersome. I get it.
yeah, when it comes to the Hamas deal, I would say that getting the hostages out is first and foremost. When it comes to peace in the Middle East, you need to get these terror supporters to stop supporting terror. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
100%.
And in this case, even a biased mediator can sometimes be useful. As
I
long as
just
you treat
really
them with
wanted to-
extreme caution, you impose strict oversight, and you don't let them call the shots. That's all that's happening right
I just wanted to rephrase. I just wanted to reset it a little bit because I really wanted to give you props on your moderation sometimes, being very helpful sometimes. Don't let it get to your head too much,
It's going
okay?
to go to my head anyway.
So I know it's going to go to your head. I know that. And I already see the video of me commenting, of me being put up on our Instagram, Daily Cheat Sheet. Go sign up for it. And of me complimenting you on this. And I think it's fantastic that Trump wants to go to Israel this weekend. Good. If he gets the 20 hostages out, God willing, go on. Let him be. Let them dance the streets around him. Let him be at the hotel on Friday night, and let every Jew in Israel have a moment right now to rejoice in peace that everybody is home. That I can't think of a bigger, more righteous act. And you know what? Give it to him. He deserves it. God bless him for what he's doing right now.
Yeah, and a little update beyond the update I gave you a moment ago. Trump has actually verbally said to the group he was with, they just told me we're real close. Here, I'm going to quote it. They updated me that we're close to a deal in the Middle East, so they'll need me again soon, so I'll have to cut it short. So something is afoot. We don't know what it is right now, but something is afoot.
Yeah, Israel said yes. And you know how men loves to use, I always say this to people. There's two people in Israel where you could gauge how things are going, and that's Ben Gvir and Smotrich. So the fact that Ben Gvir and Smotrich are not screaming from the top of their lungs right now, the first phase, God willing, will be signed. And what we're talking about is getting 20 people home to their families. That's all we care about, is getting them home to their families. And we need a break. We just
we hope
need
it goes
this
through.
break.
Listen, we're all hoping it goes
Yeah.
through.
And I don't think anybody else could have done this other than Donald. I know that for a fact. There's nobody
Everybody
else
says
could
that.
have.
Everybody's saying that.
Yeah. And so I just go on. I think we could all sit here and pray, and hopefully tomorrow's podcast will be that everybody, and just so you know, they've accepted the fact that they're not going to find the dead bodies. You know, the tentative Bibi has come out and said, so if people don't think that Israel is not having concessions, they've had a concession saying, we know we're not going to get back all the dead bodies because Hamas does not know where they are. So I think that's important to note.
Or they're saying, and it's neither here nor there, but they're saying they don't know where they are, remembering that they do this because one of their tools is psychological warfare. And if they can cause sorrow, if they can cause pain, if they can cause hurt, they'll do it. So this is like, are you going to blow up the deal because we're not giving you these bodies? No, then those people will never be able to bury their kids. And they're doing that on purpose. It's not that they really have no idea where things are.
Yeah. And the last thing I just wanted to discuss on a little lighter note, guys, a little lighter note is, this is really fascinating. And we discussed this the other day, and this is where sometimes men on pop, as far as pop culture goes or whatever, but even though these days he probably knows way more than I do since I'm not current, I'm still living in whatever year. But this Bad Bunny thing at the Super Bowl go on is, and Trump's like, I don't even know who is Bad Bunny. I've never heard of Bad Bunny a day in my life. Yet the Super Bowl, because they're trying to build out, all over Europe and everybody, has this person, who Jay-Z picked to perform at the Super Bowl. And it's sort of disgusting. I got to be honest with you, Go on this game that I used to love watching. I can't. I can't. And I find this disgusting.
Look, I don't find it disgusting. I think it's ridiculous. It's, I've never been a guy who was really excited about the Super Bowl. I enjoyed the halftime show. I enjoyed the commercials, but
I'm
the
talking to
game,
two people right now who don't watch any sports. So you know what? Yeah.
You know what? We watch the Super Bowl every year. I've been betting on the Super Bowl for many, many, many years. I don't think I'm going to watch it this year. I'm finally done.
Because
If that's what you want to do, because you're putting someone up who, one, he's American, he's a Puerto Rican, but he hates America. Why would I tune in for that? No, the punishment for that is I vote with my feet, and I am voting with my feet, and I'm walking away.
When was the last time? I'm actually asking. I do not remember. When was the last time someone who was staunchly pro-America?
I hate it. It's been getting worse and worse. I mean,
but
they had
I'm
Justin
actually
Timberlake
asking.
and Janet Jackson.
Can I
you
tell you
know?
something? I want to tell you. Can I tell you something? And I'm going to answer this question to you honestly. Everybody that used to perform was staunchly pro-America. They might have been a Democrat. It didn't mean they were anti-America.
That's
so Tom
very fair.
Petty
Notice the way I asked that question. I didn't say it was less than a Republican.
So I could look back and look at Prince, and part of me thinks Prince was probably a conservative and might have been one of the best halftime shows of all time when Purple Rain, and he was singing it and it was raining out, and the guy still had the moves like I've never seen in my life. And you know what? Go on. I always known Bruce Springsteen's politics, and they frighten me a little bit, but you know what? He's an American. I can't stand Bruce Springsteen's politics, but he loves America. I hate when he goes outside of America and shit talks America. That's my line in the sand for him. But he's never been about being anti-America. When you listen to every one of his songs, it's the sadness of America, right? I mean, so I could look back on quite a few. Yeah, it's been a long time since they went to
a while,
the top.
right? Because I've heard. I guess when did they hand the?
I'm gonna get killed for liking Bruce Springsteen, but go on.
Yeah, they gave it to what's his name?
What's that?
Jay-Z. Now
that was
controls
Jay-Z.
the
I'm asking,
Super Bowl.
when did they give Jay-Z the keys to the Super Bowl halftime show?
BLM.
And that's it. He's just going to have it now forever. Is that the way it is?
For as long as Putzo Goodell. That's why Dave Portnoy. It wasn't for this reason, but Dave Portnoy's banned, I think, from being like at NFL games because of his dislike for. But to Men's point, this is how we vote. This is how we turn off the TV. If advertisers choose to advertise, we have the right to not buy those products.
Well, but by the way, speaking of products, someone who didn't care about the game so much, but really enjoyed the commercials and the halftime show, I feel like the halftime show has just become kind of corporate activism wrapped up in the middle of a football game. Halftime, it's auto-tuned too. So, I mean, it used to actually have real singers and all the rest. But the idea that it just become this thing where what's the message we need to get out this year? That's the person that's going to represent that message. And then the show is going to be about that message. And we don't get U2 playing after, again, U2's politics. After 9/11, U2 playing after 9/11 was amazing. So it's one of the more affecting things I've ever seen. And it didn't matter whether they were left or whether they were right. It was just a great show, and it brought everybody together. And now it feels like it's designed to make everyone feel separated.
Well, listen, when the end zones say end racism.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And as Bill Maher jokes, that's what's going to ending racism. People are going to see the end zone and go, that really.
He had my favorite line about this, which is, guys, racism is an avocado. You don't have to put it on everything.
And I just want to end it with this. It's like I really encourage people to, as we always do, to go out and become more knowledgeable. The reason why the podcast movement, that this really destructive movement is able to get away with what they're getting away with is because of laziness. They know people are lazy. They know people would just rather sit and get their knowledge instead of reading, instead of expanding their minds, and they use that goal on. They prey upon their listeners, and by citing abstract books, by having guests on that are supposed historians, but at the end, they're not really historians, they're comics, right?
Yeah.
Talking about history.
I'm just talking.
Yeah, and so, but there are some really great people out there. So I encourage people to listen to shows like Trigonometry, Dan Signeur's show, even Sam Harris, whose show bores the hell out of me because he could literally. There was an app for a while that it would have famous voices. Ben Stein was one of the voices, that if you needed to help sleep, they were like the perfect voice. Sam Harris could talk for 10 minutes. And I'm like, and I disagree with a lot of his politics, with tons of his politics. And he hates Trump, hates him. But when it kind of comes to Islam, I don't think there's anybody that has a deeper insight into it than him. So I encourage
His
everybody.
fame came specifically from having that conversation with Ben Affleck on Bill Maher's show.
It also helps when you don't have to worry about money because your mother created the Golden Girls.
Doesn't hurt.
And another massive show after that. But I want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts. I want to thank all our followers, all our listeners. And we could not do this without you, and we wouldn't want to do this without you. And I want to thank both of you because I was really thinking about that before the show, how blessed I am that I get to hear your insights on things. And you're far better at articulating than I am. I was thinking about this with the whole Coleman Hughes thing, where some people make better guests and some people make better hosts. And Coleman is definitely a better guest. It's not a knock on him. Okay. But, go on. Some people should not be doing 3-hour podcasts.
One more insight is I think we're going to be watching X League, which is a bunch of hot babes playing football instead of the halftime show.
No,
So,
the Puppy Bowl.
or the Puppy Bowl.
There
Are
you
you
go.
crazy? That's like the greatest
The
show
Puppy
on
Bowl.
earth is the
Okay.
Puppy Bowl.
I'll tune in. I'll check out Puppy Bowl.
Have you never
We
watched
have a
this?
puppy. No, I have a puppy.
Watch the Puppy Bowl. It's incredible.
Really?
It's like, yeah,
Okay.
it's absolutely incredible. I got to give a shout out though. I really have to say this. When I was younger, we had one friend who had a massive TV, and God rest his soul, his name was Marty Hecht, and he used to during the halftime, when it was like, because nobody really wanted to listen to the performers go on, he would put on stuff, and I was maybe 10 or 9. And he would put on it was like we went to the In Living Color halftime show instead of like the regular halftime show. Or he would show like old episodes. I know it's not correct, of like Amos and Andy. It was fun, and that's what the Super Bowl should be. It shouldn't be about
That's why
politics.
when they used to, I just say one more thing about this. They used to go out and get the most famous people you could possibly imagine that everybody loved, the music that everybody danced to regardless of politics, and they would have them play, and they wouldn't have anything that was political. They wouldn't have them give a speech beforehand or paint the stage with some message or have it be about social reform. It was just fun and energizing and engaging, and
It was rock.
everybody could do it together.
Yeah, it was rock, and
It was rock, exactly.
You could
It was
look at
football and rock and roll. How
Right.
did they screw that up?
because they wanted to be in the world. And the reality is, I forgot to say this, and men's not going to get this, but the Holy Triumvirate is back, minus Neil Peart, and Rush is back. They announced their concert tour. I am stoked. I have no way of getting
Rush.
Yeah.
You're getting excited for Rush. Wow.
Love Rush.
Okay, careful there, man.
Yeah, careful
there.
That's crossing
Alright.
lines here.
You don't want to go against the Rush army. And I love Geddy
I'm a
Lee.
fan of Rush. It's just
I-
not top of my list.
I
Man, one
encourage-
of the best openings of any song ever. Tom Sawyer.
Isn't Tom
I'll fight
Sawyer
you.
their song?
Come on, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
and men, Neil Peart, God rest his soul, wrote so many of his original songs off Ayn Rand.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a huge knock against him. It was always a huge knock against him. Was that
Monday
so?
Warriors. Today's Tom Sawyer.
Was so much of his music was based on the Fountainhead and all that. So I encourage everybody to watch Beyond the Lighted Stage. It's one of the greatest documentaries about a music band, and they're coming back, and I am stoked. Go on that.
I
Rush
agree. I
is
didn't
back.
know that, and I love when we end on. I'll say Judah gives us compliments, but we don't say it back enough because he's the one who's
True.
kind of hosting.
True.
He's leading the thing. But in terms of podcasting, in terms of hosting, the dude is razor sharp. He is unapologetically curious. The dude is it's impossible to ignore him, right? He's someone who he is staunch in what he believes. He continually he doesn't shift with the wind like a flag, right? The man knows what he wants. He knows what he believes, and he's relentlessly prepared. He has this natural ear for conversation. He knows how to ask questions. I love doing this with you, man. And I think we're all blessed to have you hosting this and making sure that you keep us on track, because otherwise Mend and I would be, I don't even know what weeds we'd be, but we'd both be in the weeds somewhere.
Thank you.
100%. I second that. What Golan just said.
I hate to thank you both. I thank you. We're the new Holy Triumphant.
There you go.
And come on, man. I Love You, Man is one of my favorite movies. I Love You, Man is one of my favorite movies. Have you not seen this, man?
I don't think so.
It's with Paul Rudd
slapping the
and Jason.
bass? No,
Jason
Bates?
slap the bass.
no, slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass.
You have
And,
to
man,
watch it.
You have to watch. I Love You,
Okay,
Man.
we'll check it
And
out.
you will really get a deeper appreciation for Rush after watching I Love You, Man. It's I encourage everybody, because you know, go on. It's hard for people to find movies that you could watch with your family, or not political, or whatever it is. That's just a stone cold great comedy. And sadly, something, well, we know what happened. Cancel culture happens.
That's
So
right.
you couldn't make certain movies anymore. But on that note, thank you for the kind words. I want to thank everybody out there that's been following and listening and helping us. I want to remind everybody you can find us at thedailycheatsheet.com. That's thedailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world. Wherever you are, God bless you all.